I want to tell you that when Ed went to be with the Lord in May 15th, 2015, later we were cleaning out his car and I found some notes in the, thank you, the car, thank you. Sorry, I had car trouble getting here, so I'm a little bit discombobulated, but I'm fine. Okay.
I love your hair.
Yeah, oh, thank you. So we found these notes, and he had a couple of weeks before been asked to speak at a high school basketball team, and he just scribbled some notes about what he wanted to say to them. And then here I found them in the glove compartment. That's what it was of the car. And I want to read what he wrote because I think it's very appropriate in honoring him today. Okay, then these are young men that don't know anything about him. So he's trying to tell them a little bit about that he played sports and that he understands part of the sacrifice of playing sports. And he starts off by saying to listen to your coach because he knows what's going on. You need to listen to your coach. And he says, here's a little bit about my history. He said, in junior high, I remember deciding to become the best football player to ever graduate from Monahans High School. He said that was his goal. And I think part of that, we talked about it over the years, is because that was his ticket to college. That was how he was going to be able to go to college. He said he listened to his coaches. He said, I worked out on my own, besides what the coaches told me to do. And then he said in high school, said I was all-state at 4 different positions in 2 years because he played both offense and defense. And then the next year they put him on another position, offense and defense. So then that was the 4 different positions.
What happened was, Kim.
Oh, this is Jerry Foster, Eddie's brother.
They had a fat man relay at the end of his junior year.
That means that the weight guys, they had, just for fun at a track meet, they had that, and Eddie outran everybody. So Coach Hodges thought, okay, we'll put him at tight end and linebacker, and he's taking a chance for whether it would help the team a lot and whether it would help him a lot. And he is the only player in the history of Texas football to make All-State at 4 different positions.
And he made All-American his junior and senior year too. He was really pleased that OU was one of the colleges that offered him a scholarship. He has a lot of funny stories about UT recruiting him, but I realize I'm in Texas, so I wanted to know those. When he did play for OU, he was all Big 8. He was All-American, and they switched him from offense to defense. From defense to offense, which was really hard on him because he just knew he's going to be playing defense. And when he finally got out of being redshirted his sophomore year, he looked at the roster and they were 5 people deep, like 5 strings. Here's the first string, second string. He looked on it, he was number 5. He was the last string. And he has the stories about how it gradually worked up. But some of them had nothing to do with him. Some of them, like one guy got homesick and just didn't show up after Thanksgiving. So Ed moved up. Now he's 4 string, And then another one, some guy got the flu or something, couldn't play. Now Ed's 3rd string. And he gradually works up to being 1st and eventually gets to stay being 1st. And through the years then he gets to be All-American and ends up being co-captain of the undefeated 73 team. And he did play in the World Football League 2 years. He was drafted by the NFL. But at this point, it's, when you're out to make a living, you don't go with your favorite team. You go with the one who offers you the most money. And the World Football League did offer him lots more than the NFL did. So he went with the World Football
And his
League.
old coach was the coach of the NFL team, and he didn't really want to play for him.
Yes. I wasn't going to say that. Jerry
I mean, it was a
said,
part of it.
Yeah. Jerry said that one of the NFL team that had drafted him was not one of Ed's favorite coaches. That he had been a coach to Ed earlier. And yeah, but that kind of played into it.
So it really wasn't about the money, was it?
Right. So he did play in the WFL for 2 years in the Canadian League.
What was the coach's name?
Oh, yeah.
That's Fairbanks.
Because we're videotaping, and that, we can't record that.
He passed
Okay,
away,
so here's the notes that I want you to hear that he wrote to these young high school men. Because it really, really helped me. And after I read them through the first time, and then, I'm thinking, oh, he's saying this to a basketball team, I realized these are life lessons that he wrote. The first thing he said, there's usually a great plan that your coach has. Your coach has worked out a plan. And the coach makes necessary adjustments in the presence, the verse is in the presence of many counselors, lies success. Second, give great effort. And Ecclesiastes 9:10 says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. The third thing was, in the face of adversity, stick to your plan. In Galatians 6:9, it says, do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you'll reap, you'll be successful if you don't faint. And then the fourth one was the one I needed to hear that day. It's Romans 8:18, and it says, for I consider the sufferings of this present time not worth comparing to the glory that is set before us. And I needed that a lot because I was, going through grief. I needed to hear that what we're going through now, in Corinthians, it also says, we don't look at the things all around us now. We look forward to the things that are coming in heaven. For the troubles will soon be over, but the joys to come will last forever. So that's where I needed to put my focus, that God was going to get me through. He's going to get us all through, especially when we keep our focus on Him. I do want to share two of Ed's favorite verses with you. And one is Micah 6:8. And in the Bible, lots of times when it says man, it refers to human race. So women are included. It's not just men. Micah 6:8 says, he has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? But to do what is fair and just, or to do justly, to love mercy and be compassionate, and to walk humbly with your God. And we had that on his gravestone. And let me just say that one more time. He has shown you, O man or woman, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. And the other verse is Proverbs 19:22. It says, what is desired in a man is kindness. Or another version is, what makes a man attractive is kindness. That we all need to be kind. And especially the things we're going through in the world today, we need to be kind. We need to be kind. And that's Proverbs 19:22. And I just want to say that Eddie Foster was the kindest person I ever met. Even though he was a professional football player, and he was knocking guys down and making plays and everything, he used to say, you can be a good player and be kind and date pretty girls. Right now I want to recognize, well, before that, we have some papers up here. We put his memorial service on YouTube because a lot of players spoke and tell some great stories. And I spoke, my kids spoke, Jerry spoke, and it's a very uplifting service. So if you want to do that, please get that. You can watch it. And also on YouTube, we put him making his acceptance speech for the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. So you can see that on YouTube also. And you just Google Eddie Foster High School Football Hall of Fame speech, and it'll come
Can I
up.
say something about that?
Sure.
To be, they picked one out of all the hundreds of thousands and millions of players that played in Texas. They pick out one player per decade to be in that. So 1960, 1969, Eddie was the guy chosen one year, and it's rare that anybody gets in with one guy per decade. So they only have about 8 people per year put in that, as many as there are, and he was that in 2013. He was one. So.
Thank you. And he was saying, he always was amazed if somebody came up to him and said, I remember when you played football. And he would say, then you're a real fan, because nobody remembers offensive linemen. You don't remember. And I don't know if you realize this, but of all the positions in football, they do not have any statistics. Everybody else has statistics of how far they ran, all these different things. Offensive linemen don't. But if they don't do their job, then people really notice, because what happens. And there's a picture here of him playing, and when y'all get ready to look, he's blocking for the quarterback for the World Football League Sharks. And I absolutely love it, because he has the guy coming towards him and the quarterback here, and he's doing this. And I don't know if it was one of my children or somebody said, that's what he did in life for us. He blocked problems for us. And that's who Eddie Foster was and is. Right now I'd like to recognize the football players and coaches who play for Monahans. And so what I want you to do, just stay where you are, raise your hand, tell us your name, what position you played, and what year you graduated. So let's go with Coach White here first. Coach White.
Yes, the fondest memories I have is here. And just like with Eddie and many of you out there, that I just cherish. It's a wonderful, wonderful life to have that I went through. And I have wished many times, I wish I could go back to coaching.
I personally think in heaven we're going to have football. I really do. Because we don't start all over everything in heaven. And if you haven't read Randy Alcorn's book on heaven, it's amazing, because he talks about, God is the God about relationships. That's very important to him, and he's made all of us to be his children in heaven. Now it's our decision if we go there, but he's prepared that for us. And so when we get there, he's not going to say, we're starting you all over, you have no memories, and we're going there. No, he's going to, he's got wonderful adventures and jobs and assignments and awesome things to do. And we're going to do a lot of them with the person and the people that we have a relationship with here that we love so much. And that really gives me a lot of comfort. We're going to keep making new friends and meeting new people. But yeah, I think, Coach, there's going to be some football games in heaven for sure.
That'll be the
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Anybody else?
Jerry Hawthorne, defensive halfback and quarterback, and Bruce Madison and Curtis Scrimsher's practice dummy.
Awesome. And what year was that?
70, 71.
Awesome. Thank you, Jerry. It's good seeing you. So good seeing you. Okay, this way. Peyton.
Peyton McCone, end offense and defense. 70, 71, 69, 70, somewhere in that area.
Thank you, Peyton. And come here.
Jerry Foster, and I was there in 69, 70, played offensive halfback and defensive rover.
Okay, and I want to add to Jerry's. You know, Jerry was not as big as Ed. So, yeah. But he also played, got a college scholarship to OU. And if you've ever wondered how some of those college teams get really, really good, it's because they study the team they're going to be playing next. And to really get prepared for them, they have a scout team, it's called. And the scout team learns all the plays from the team that's getting ready to be played. So if OU's getting ready to play Colorado, the scout team learns all the plays for Colorado. All week long, they pretend they're Colorado, and they get the starters ready to play against Colorado. Jerry was a star of the scout team, and Ed has said many times that he does not, Ed said, I do not know a tougher guy than my brother, Jerry. So I just want to tell you, Jerry, yeah. Okay, who's next? Kurt.
Curtis Scrimshire, offensive guard, graduated in 1971.
Thank you. Would you say your name again so it would come up on the video?
Curtis Scrimshire.
Yeah, great.
He's the one that ran on the mail.
Hey, Kim, can I say something? Kim, can I say something?
Yes, okay, and this is Jerry's wife, Kathy, my sister-in-law.
I just want to say, on my first date with Jerry, we went to Eddie and Kim's apartment. And on the way walking in, Jerry said, my brother is a really big guy, a great football player, but he's a lot nicer guy than I am. Okay, should I turn back now?
Had to be
Yeah,
honest.
so the first date.
That's our first date, and then I spent most of the time in the back, me and Kim visiting, while Jerry and Eddie watched the Olympics. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I'll never, but he's a lot nicer.
Jerry, did you ever get to play with your brother in college?
Yes,
Was it-
yes, for 3 years we did. So
Wow.
actually 4 years, but I had knee surgery, so I missed a year and stuff. So yeah, he was there. We've got to see him a lot in college. So
Anybody back there? Anybody?
Steve, here, Steve.
Bill Shoemake, offensive halfback, defensive secretary, graduated 1953.
Mr. Shoemake was, Debbie and I were in his class. Do you remember us in the corner? We tried to do things, yeah, we did good.
Let me add something else. Mr. Shoemaker was the last person to give me a paddling in the 8th grade. And I had my shoehorn in my back pocket, and I forgot to take it out. So that night I showed Eddie. He said, "Yeah, I can read that floor shine."
I still got that paddle.
I better be quiet. Here's Steve Schwarb. Steve Schwarb.
My name is Steve Schwarb. I graduated in '73, played defensive halfback and offensive halfback. A little bit younger than these guys, but you were speaking about Eddie being so kind. I lived on 3rd Street behind the pharmacy, and Jerry and Eddie lived down the street. And we'd always have a football field about 4 yards long, looked like this floor, you know. And we'd have the whole neighborhood playing. And after practices, from time to time, a car would just pull up, and it would be Eddie and Jerry. And I would just shut down the game. And these guys as much as we like to watch them play, for them to stop and talk to us and throw the football around was unbelievable. You know, it just meant the world to me.
Thank
He
you.
has a nephew that's an assistant coach on the football team here now. Cameron
Who
Schwarb.
is that?
Cameron Schwarb.
That's my youngest
His youngest brother's son.
Awesome. Is there anyone else?
Can I introduce Linda?
Sure. Oh, yes.
Linda Scott is here. Coach Scott was one of our 4 coaches.
Yes, Linda.
And he died last year, and she came up here for this too. She's a great lady. We had a good time down there unfortunately for a bad incident, but.
Thank you for
anyway,
coming.
she's been
Lisa.
very good.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Yes. And so now I want to, I don't know if you realize that in Monahans we have back-to-back state champions, and I think it's the only sport, as far, please correct me if I'm wrong, the only sport that had back-to-back state champions was volleyball. Yeah. So Maria, come up here right quick. Maria, come up here. Yes. Yeah, come up here. So Maria, yes. Well, let's just turn around. Let's go back to here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Maria was on the very first team, and Terry was in. Yeah. So we have a lot of sweet memories, but also we went through a lot of hard stuff to get to play state, right? We Coach Janice Hudson, if you remember, yes. We love her, but boy, she put us through boot camp. We got out later than football players. We lifted weights, and so that's why we won state, because we worked out, and she got us going. Okay, so this part of the exhibit shows the players, and also Bo, would you represent Sherry, your sister? She was on the team. Also, you raise your hand so that Sherry was on the team too.
His twin.
Sherry Pinner.
His twin.
Yeah, Sherry Pinner. There's Bo. Yeah, and so there's some pictures here of the 2 years that we did that. And then the last person that we want to honor today is my daddy. And a lot of you did not realize, if you're in this class, you know him as the world history teacher. But before that, he was band director from the mid-40s to the mid-50s here in Monahans. And he was one of the very original. You remember the musical, The Music Man? And the guy was a crook who sold the instruments and then left town, with the promise that he would come back and teach the kids how to play, but he never did. That's the musical. Well, there were some real people like that, but my dad wasn't. And when he was first married, my parents sold all they could to move out in this area, and they came to town, not in Monahans, I think it was Stanford. Here. What? Where? Oh, okay. Anyway, so the town that they picked had just had an incident with the crook music man. And so they thought, okay, here's another guy. The paper wrote this horrible thing, don't have anything to do with Watson and all this. And they didn't have enough money to move. So they were determined to make it good and let them know, no, we're here to stay. And sure enough, everything worked out good. And eventually then he came to Monahans and was the band director here. He was also on the volunteer fire department. He was a Boy Scout leader. And there's somebody that contacted me, Gary Toon, do y'all know him? He contacted me and said that Daddy was his Boy Scout leader. But if my dad taught you in high school or taught you music, I'm looking at Jeppy Wilson, because Jeppy, my dad discovered Jeppy. Yeah, he did. My dad, should I tell it? Or you tell the story?
Oh no, that was back in the days before desegregation, and no one wanted to come over to the little black school and work with those black kids, but Mr. Watson stood up and said, hey, I'll go do it, and sure enough he did. That's a tough story to tell, but that's how it was back then.
Yeah.
And so we indeed are blessed to forget the things of the past and move forward to that which lies ahead.
Yes.
But Mr. Watson was definitely an awesome man.
Yes, thank you. And the first time I met Jeppy came over to the house and Daddy was giving him private lessons.
Yeah.
And then Jeppy got his college scholarship in music, came back and became band director here in Monahans. So that's awesome. So thank you. And Is there anybody else who's in the band? I know that I talked to 2 band students of his, but they're in their 90s. So they said they would be thinking about us, but they didn't know if they would make it. What about if you were in his class, can you just wave? Oh, well, oh wow, that's a lot of people, yeah.
We called him Chrome Dome.
Yep.
Not to his face, but that's it.
Your mom was my first person.
Oh, that's neat, that's neat. Well, and I would like to honor Mr. Jimmy Marks, who taught with my daddy in high school, and Mr. Marks taught government here. And if you were in his class, raise your hand. Yeah. Yay, Mr. Marks, we're so glad you're here.
He has a tough time getting around, but he still has his memory. We talked the other day, he remembered a lot of names that we couldn't remember. He's sharper than we are, I'm telling you.
Jerry, he needs to tell about how, he was telling us about how your father would give all the teachers a little something he made.
Homemade stuff he made out of his blood.
Yeah.
Well, C.M. Watson was one of the sweetest men that you'll ever meet. That was tough as nails.
That's right.
The one thing that he couldn't tolerate was a kid talking back to him. That if you called him Chrome Dome and he heard you probably got body slammed in the head. No, he was fair, but he was strict.
When we had his service, the pastor said that Daddy had taught Sunday school longer than the pastor had been alive. So that he really loved the Lord. He really loves the Lord. So for him, in August the 9th, 1984, Monahans had a C.M. Watson Music Man Day, and Mayor Dick Hoyer proclaimed the day for my daddy. And then the community theater presented Music Man, and it had an exhibit at the community center of different things, and that's what this story's about. It's the story of him and then Mayor Hoyer. And we put one of his directors, thank you, baton in here, and there's some pictures with him, this baton. I do want to say one of my favorite stories about Daddy. So when he was a music band director here in Monahans, all you band people, first everybody raise your hand if you're in the band. Look at all these people, yes. All these people, yes. They went to contests. And if you don't know about contests, they practice these songs and they're going to be judged. But then there's the sight reading contest. And they have never seen this music before. They're just supposed to play it on sight. And that test if they really do read music well. So they gave it to, after they did all the other competition, they gave Daddy the music. He had, I think, 5 minutes to look at it and 5 minutes maybe to quickly prepare the band, get ready. Well, at this competition, when they had first gotten there, one of the players was sick, and it was the oboe player. And Daddy said, well, we can kind of maybe not make it sound like he just told the oboe player, stay on the bus, and when we can, we'll come get you and go home. And then he thought, well, what are we going to do about that position? So he told the manager, the guy who helped unload all the equipment, he said, I want you to sit in the oboe player's seat and just hold it. Now, be sure, do not blow. Just hold it and act like, you can do maybe fingers, don't blow it, and we'll be fine. So they get to the sight reading part. He looks at it, and wouldn't you know, there's an oboe solo. So he didn't miss a beat. He got everybody there, started doing his thing, he came to the oboe solo, and of course his back is turned to the judges. And while he's conducting, out of the side of his mouth, he makes the oboe sound and does the whole oboe solo out of his mouth. They don't know. They don't know. Well, when he gets the record back of the judging, it says, you know, excellent Monahans band, excellent and all these things, and he comes sight reading. And it said, excellent again, and then personal notes, comments from the judges. Unbelievable, excellent oboe solo. And so when I first heard it, and I was older then, because I hadn't heard all the stories yet, I said, well, you did tell them, didn't you, that you made the sound? He went, no. So somewhere there's somebody thinking, what a great Monahans band. They did all, yeah. So I thought you were pretty.
And you said he wasn't the original music man?
I guess he could fill in where he
Pretty
needed to.
slick.
Yeah, he could fill in. So we have some pictures there of him. And I want to thank all of you so much for coming. It means the world to me that y'all have come. And as I was thinking about this great honor and how, you know, I was thinking about it with the Lord, and so grateful. I feel like the Lord said, this is just a little bit of something here on earth in this dimension. But when we get to heaven, every one of us is going to have like a museum. I mean, we're going to be rewarded for our good deeds. We're going to honor each other.
That
We're
could
gonna
be scary for some.
Yeah, so some of you better think about that. Yeah. But that we're all going to be able to rejoice with each other of our victories that we've had here. And just like Mr. Marks was talking about Daddy being kind and giving gifts and celebrating him, and Chappie talking about Daddy coming over and teaching at the school. We're all going to be doing that with each other. We're going to be going, oh yes, they did that for me. Yes, she did that. They helped me. It's going to be an awesome, awesome thing. And I want to end with this scripture. And this scripture is also on Ed's gravestone. It's Revelation 14:13. Then I heard a voice from heaven say, write this. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord. Yes, they will rest from their hard work, and their good deeds will follow them. They will be rewarded for what they have done. And so one day, when we're in heaven, and your name is called, and Jesus is handing you rewards, I'm going to be jumping up and down and clapping for you and say, I know them, and they helped me. They encouraged me. And so I just want to thank each one of you so much for coming.